King Arthur's Knights, Chapter 6, Part 2. What say you, daughter? Said the old earl. Indeed, sir, replied the maiden, gently flushing, I am in your hands, and if this fair knight will have it so, he may challenge for me. This said Enid to hide her true thoughts, for indeed she felt that she had never before seen as noble a youth as Geraint, or one for whom her thoughts were so kind. Then so it shall be, said Earl Ynewell. On the morrow, ere it was dawn, they arose and arrayed themselves, and at break of day they were in the meadow. Before the seat of the young earl, who was Ynewell's nephew, there was set up a post, and on it was the figure of a ger-falcon of pure gold and marvellously wrought, with wings outspread and talons astretch, as if it were about to strike its prey. Then the knight whom Geraint had followed entered the field with his lady, and when he had made proclamation, he bade her go and fetch the falcon from its place. For, said he, thou art the fairest of women, and, if any deny it, by force I will defend the fame of thy beauty and thy gentleness and nobleness. Touch not the falcon, cried Geraint, for here is a maiden who is fairer and more noble and more gentle, and who has a better claim to it than any. The stranger knight looked keenly at Geraint, and in a haughty voice cried, I know not who thou art, but if thou art worthy to bear arms against me, come forward. Geraint mounted his horse, and when he rode to the end of the meadow, laughter rippled and rang from the people watching him. For he bore an old and rusty suit of armor that was of an ancient pattern, and the joints of which gaped here and there. And none knew who he was, for his shield was bare. But when thundering together the two knights had each broken several lances upon the shield of the other, the people eyed Sir Geraint with some regard. When it seemed that the proud knight was the better jouster, the earl and his people shouted, and Ynewell and Enid had sad looks. Pity it is, said Enid, that our young knight hath but that old gaping armor, for when they clash together, I feel the cruel point of the proud knight's spear, as if it were in my heart. Fear not, my dear, said the old dame, her mother. I feel that him you have learned to love so soon is worthy a good maiden's love, and I think that his good knighthood will overcome the other's pride. Then the old knight went to Geraint. O young chief, he said, since all other lances break in thy strong young hand, take you this. It was the lance I had on the day when I received knighthood. It was made by the wizard smith who lives in the hill of Ithel, and it hath never failed me. Then Sir Geraint took the lance and thanked the old earl, and looked back to where stood Enid, and his heart leaped to see how proud and calm she stood, though her lips trembled as she smiled at him. With that, the strength seemed to course like a mountain stream through all his body, and from the uttermost end of the meadow he pricked his horse and rushed toward the proud knight. His blow was so mighty and the good lance so strong that the shield of the proud knight was cleft in twain, and he was thrust far beyond his horse and fell crashing to the ground. Then Geraint leaped from his horse and drew his sword, and the other, rising to his feet, they dashed together with the fury of wild bulls, and so battled long and sore until the sweat and blood obscured their sight. Once, when the proud knight had struck Sir Geraint a mighty blow, the young knight saw, as he fought, how the maid Enid stood with clasped hands and a pale face of terror, as if she feared for his life. With the sight of the maiden's dread and the memory of the insult done by the proud knight to Queen Guinevere, Sir Geraint waxed both fiercer and stronger, and, gathering all his might in one blow, he beat with his sword upon the crown of the knight's helm, and so fierce was it that the headpiece broke and the sword blade cut to the bone. Straightway the knight fell down upon his knees, and craved mercy. "Why should I give mercy to one so full of pride and arrogance?" said Sir Geraint. "Thou, through thy servant, hast shamefully insulted the queen of my lord King Arthur." "Fair knight," cried the other, "I confess it, and I give up my overbearing henceforth. I crave for mercy, and if ye give me my life, I will be your man and do your behest." "I will give thee mercy on one condition," said Geraint, "which is, that thou and thy lady and thy dwarf page go instantly and yield yourselves into the hands of the queen, and claim atonement for your insult. And whatsoever my lady the queen determines, that shall ye suffer. Tell me, who art thou?" "I am Sir Eddern of the Needlands," replied the other. "And who art thou, Sir Knight?" he asked, "for never have I met so valiant and good a knight of his hands as thou art." "I am Geraint of Cornwall," said the young knight. "It giveth comfort to me to know that I am overcome by so noble a knight," said the other. Then he got upon his horse, all wounded as he was, and with his lady and the page beside him, took his way sadly to Arthur's court. Then the young earl rose and came to Sir Geraint and asked him to stay with him at his castle, for he loved all knights of great prowess and would have them to talk to him. "Nay, I will not," said Sir Geraint coldly. "I will go where I was last night." "Have your will, Sir Knight," replied the young earl courteously, "but I will ask Earl Ewell to permit me to furnish his manor as it should be furnished for your honour and ease." Sir Geraint went back to the manor, conversing with Earl Ewell and his wife, and with the maiden Enid. When they reached the house, they found it full of the servants of the earl, who were sweeping the halls and laying straw therein, with tables and benches, as were suitable, and soon a great fire leaped and crackled on the stone in the centre. Then, when Sir Geraint's wound had been washed and salved and bound, and he had placed upon himself his walking attire, the chamberlain of the young earl came to him and asked him to go into the hall to eat. Sir Geraint asked where was Earl Ewell and his wife and daughter. "They are in the bower, putting on robes, which my lord the earl has sent, more befitting their station and your honour," said the earl's chamberlain. Sir Geraint liked it not that the maiden should be dressed in the robes given by the man who had stripped her father of all his wealth, and he said coldly, "I would that the damsel do not array herself except in the vest and veil she hath worn till now. And those she should wear," he said, "until she come to the court of Arthur, where the queen shall clothe her in garments fitting for her." It was so done, and the maiden sat in her poor robes, while the other knights and ladies in the young earl's company glittered and shone in satin and jewels. But she cared not for this, because Sir Geraint had bidden her. When meat was done and the mead was served, they all began to talk, and the young earl invited Sir Geraint to visit him next day. "It may not be," said Sir Geraint. "I will go to the court of my lord Arthur with this maiden, for I will not rest while Earl Ewell and his dame and daughter go in poverty and rags and trouble. And it is for this I will see my lord, so that something may be done to give them maintenance befitting their station." Then, because the young earl admired Sir Geraint for his knightly strength, his nobility of manner, and his prowess, there was sorrow in his heart for the old Earl Ewell. "Ah, Sir Geraint," he said, "I am sorry if your heart is sore because of my kinsman's poor condition. And if you will give me your friendship, I will abide by your counsel and do what you think I should do of right." "I thank thee, fair sir," said Geraint, "and I will ask ye to restore unto the Earl Ewell all the possessions that were rightly his, and what he should have received up to this day." "That I will gladly do for your sake," said the young earl. Thus it was agreed, and such of the men in the hall who held lands which rightly belonged to the Earl Ewell came and knelt before him and did homage to him. And next morning the lands and homesteads and all other possessions were returned to Earl Ewell to the last seed pearl. Thereafter Sir Geraint prepared to return to the court of King Arthur and the Earl Annual came to him with the maiden Enid, whose gentle face went pale and red by turns. Fair sir, your pursuit of that knight, Sir Edern, and your revenge for his insult, I shall bless until the last day of my life. For you have done more goodness and justice than I can ever repay you. But if this, my daughter, for whom ye fought yesterday, is pleasing unto you, take her for your wife, with the blessings of myself and my countess. Sir Geraint clasped the hand of the young maiden and said, My lord, I thank thee, and if my lord King Arthur shall give this maiden unto me for my wife, then will I love her and cherish her all the days of my life, if she in her heart would choose me for her husband. My lord, said the maiden, raising her frank eyes and flushing face to him, I have never known a knight to whom I gave so great goodwill as I find in my heart for thee. And if thy lord Arthur shall give me unto thee, I will plight thee my love and loving service till I die. Thereupon they proceeded on their way to the court of King Arthur, and what had seemed a long journey to Geraint when he had followed Sir Edern now seemed too short, for he and the maid Enid passed it in much pleasant converse. Toward evening they arrived at Caerleon upon Usk, and Queen Guinevere received Sir Geraint with great welcome, calling him her glorious knight and champion, and telling him that Sir Edern had yielded himself into her hands to do such atonement as seemed fitting, when he should have recovered from his wounds. At the beauty of the maid Enid all the court marveled, and the queen hastened to clothe her in robes of satin, rich and rare, with gold upon her hair and about her throat. And when she was so dressed, all were glad that one of so sweet a dignity and rare a beauty had come among them. King Arthur gave her to Sir Geraint with many rich gifts, and Enid and Geraint were married in the abbey church, and the court gave itself up to feasting and sport, and acclaimed her one of the three most lovely ladies in all the Isle of Britain. When a year had passed in great happiness, ambassadors came from King Urban of Cornwall with a request to King Arthur that he should let Sir Geraint go home to his father. For, said the messengers, King Urban waxes old and feeble, and the more he ageth, the more insolent and daring are the barons and lords on his marshes, trying to wrest parts of his land to add to their own. Therefore, said they, the king begs you to let his son, Sir Geraint, return home, so that, knowing the fame of the strength of his arm and his prowess, the turbulent lords would desist, and if they would not, Sir Geraint would hurl them from his boundaries. King Arthur, though very reluctant to let so great an ornament of his court depart, let him go. And Geraint and Enid went with a great party of the best knights of the Round Table, and rode to the Severn shore, and there took ship to the shores of Cornwall. When they reached there, all the people came from their villages welcoming Sir Geraint and his lovely bride, for the fame of his prowess and the way in which he had won his wife had spread over all the land. And King Urban welcomed his son and was glad of his coming. And the next day all the chief subjects, the lords and barons holding lands or offices, and the chief tenants of common degree, came into the hall, and kneeling before Sir Geraint, did honor to him and swore fealty. And we'll pause here and we'll continue with this chapter in the next video. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.